Thanks, Mel. Right, Cameron. So you know the Gen 5 minutes, and if you want questions, just leave it at a time.
And I'll be quick so you can go to lunch.
Oh, thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me here today. I would like to make just a quick few points about my submission. The main one is primarily around rates and future generations level of service. So it's great to see levels of service being considered in association with the rates changes that we're proposing. However, there is a big black spot there in what the rates changes we're limiting ourselves to now impose on future generations, and that's in terms of infrastructure debt. And the other big one is climate change debt as well. So we know that climate change is coming. It seems to be getting closer and closer every year. Funny that. And we know we've got a commitment to meet by 2030. However, I really struggle to see how our city, led by this organisation, is going to meet those goals. I also note that we are having significant economic impacts from climate change already, such as things like the cyclone, as well as things like the emissions trading scheme auction that failed earlier this year and triggered a bunch of things. Really, I understand, because the markets did not believe that we were going to address climate change like the emissions trading scheme was designed to do. There's also the estimates of future costs of climate change in the billions of dollars. When we ignore them, what we are saying is that our children can pay for them, and we don't have to. So I would really encourage you to increase rates to the level that they need to be at to pay for the infrastructure that we need to sustain a level of service now and in future generations that we've afforded in the past several decades. I note the reference point for the annual plan is the long-term plan. So I think at the very minimum we should be meeting that. But I also note that I don't think the long-term plan will give us the same level of service in future generations that we afford now and have in the past. I wanted to pull out a specific point from one of the reports that you received on the annual plan, and it's a note around, it's fantastic that climate change must be considered in all reports, but there's a little policy implication talking about climate change considerations. And I'll just read this quote from the report. This annual plan continues with the climate change commitment set out in the 2021 LTP and sets the stage for further initiatives in the 2024 LTP. I don't really know what that means, and to me it's kind of beaten around the bush in that how does this report actually impact climate change? So I would really in that section like to see, this is an annual plan setting out our plan of work for the next year in association with the long-term plan over the next 10 years. I believe these policy implications should be how is this annual plan going to achieve or not achieve those goals? What is the trajectory that we're working towards? And it's not that data is not available. We've got Climate Change Commission. We've got an ESR research team at the University of Canterbury. There's plenty of people. You've got your own staff who will be well experienced in this kinds of thing. So I don't think there's any excuse for just really ignoring that level of detail. I'll leave it there and give you a minute if you would like to.
Right, we've got Tyler.
Kia ora, thank you for that. That's phenomenal. Only question I have is around that point that you talked about around seeing how we're tracking. Would you like to see somewhat of a graph to see how we're tracking per annual plan to see where we're at in regards to our goal for 2030?
So it's not the historical that I'm interested, it's that what is the plan that we're putting up for the future look like? Because at the moment I see our emissions maybe slowing a little bit, but I don't see anything going to cause them to drop, right? And theoretically, I believe our current long-term plan takes us into 2030. So if our long-term plan doesn't contain anything that's going to change that trajectory, how are we going to meet that goal?
All right, Sarah.
Thanks so much. And I will just point out that the long-term plan doesn't just do a 10-year budget past 2030, but it includes a 30-year infrastructure strategy, which takes us well past our net neutral and our proper neutral targets and those kind of things as well. So that's coming up as well.
Thanks, Sarah.
Well, perfect. Thank you for a really, really interesting submission. Really appreciate you coming in. It's really good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice lunch.
Cheers. All right, so we'll adjourn the meeting. Oh, any actions from there? We got them, didn't we? We'll adjourn the meeting until next time, which is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Ooh.